Minister of International Relations and Cooperation Ronald Lamola is back in South Africa after a trip to the United Kingdom and Ireland. It was part of a round of economic diplomacy to secure more investment. At the end of that trip, he met with the London correspondent Stuart Smith to discuss what was achieved, South Africa's upcoming G20 presidency and the BRICS summit in Russia later this month.
Thank you for joining me. Who have you been speaking to and what have you been able to achieve on this visit to the UK?
Yeah, it has been a great week for South Africa in London. We have engaged with government delegation, Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. David Lammy, and other ministers from the British government, with a clear aim of re-strengthening cooperation between the two countries, the renewal of fraternal relations, and also on issues of economic diplomacy, bilateral trade, and issues of climate change. And we think this has been a very successful trip. We also had an opportunity to engage with the various role players in the business sector here in London, various role players, including the London Stock Exchange, as you are aware, and many other banks, equity banks, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, and other equity fund managers and important stakeholders, including the South African Chamber of Commerce that is based here in London, because as you are aware, it's a mutually beneficial relationship where there are businesses from the UK invested in our country, but there are also South African businesses that are invested in the UK. So it was a good exchange and looking at growing our economy, foreign direct investment, also looking at many companies from South Africa still continuing to invest in the UK. So it was a good week for economic diplomacy for South Africa.
South Africa is about to take over the G20 presidency, a group that the United Kingdom is in as well. Are there areas the UK and South Africa both hope to prioritise? Yes,
and that was part of the issues that we discussed, and climate change is on top of the agenda for South Africa. It's also on top of the agenda for the UK. And we think that there is an issue of commonalities. The UK climate change, we're happy, is now also back in the agenda. The concerns, obviously, we have raised and the UK government share with us is the fact that only 3% of global financing for climate change goes to the sub-Saharan Africa, and which is the most affected by climate change. So we're looking forward to cooperate on this, to change this type of imbalanced financing so that we're able to respond positively to the challenges of climate change in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not only just about South Africa, Botswana, Mozambique. Most part of the sub-Saharan Africa is affected. So the financing by the international financial architecture must respond to this, because the least developed countries are the most affected by climate change, whereas the financing goes more to the developed countries. So this is what we will work on to change with the UK. But for us, G20 is a huge opportunity of hosting people from across the world, global leaders who are influential politically on issues of geopolitics, but also mainly the issues of global financial architecture, financing for development instead of wars, financing various developmental projects in the global south, including the African continent, and also the issues of our own Agenda 2063. So this is a huge platform for South Africa, and also to ensure that we're able to advocate for financing for development in the African continent.
Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, has said that Tehran's missile attack on Israel on Friday was completely legal and legitimate. Do you agree with that?
I think having viewed the footages and some facts, it does look like, obviously we'll still properly assess, it does look like it was a measured response, which was just a kind of a deterrent. And we are hopeful that in the Middle East, cessation of hostilities must happen, ceasefire. And we have also been very clear that the source of the problem is the resolution of the Palestinian dispute, the issue of statehood, this two-state solution in Palestine. If that can be resolved, it can resolve the whole conflict. It can also enable cessation of fire. So we think that is what all our energies must be put into, to ceasing of fire, for peace, because as South Africa, we are anti-war. We want to see peace across the globe, and that's what we'll continue to call for, and also for allowance of humanitarian access, particularly in Gaza, West Bank, and including in Lebanon, which is now also heavily affected.
It's the BRICS summit later this month in Kazan in Russia. What will you be saying there, and will you be bringing any new thinking with regard to ending Russia's war in Ukraine?
Yes, we will definitely be attending, and we are looking forward to make a contribution. As you are aware, with regards to the war, we are part of the processes related to the peace formula. And you may also be aware that our President, Cyril Ramaphosa, met Mr. Zelensky on the margins of the UN General Assembly in New York, and further emphasized the importance of Ukraine inviting Russia into the peace formula engagements and talks, so that we can move towards dialogue with all the parties on the table. So we will continue to call that Russia must be part of that peace initiative and talks, because we think a solution will only be found when all the parties in the war are involved and they are engaged. So we will also participate in the BRICS with the various issues affecting the BRICS members, including, as you are aware, we have just received about $1 billion financing from the BRICS Bank, called the Development Bank, which is going to address our water challenges in the country, looking forward to financing the challenges that we have as a country in the water infrastructure, issues of reticulation, water to the tap and to the communities. So this BRICS Bank has been for us, is very beneficial, and we see our platform, this platform, as part of us being able to aggregate financing for development in our country. So it's a very important platform which we will continue to participate in.
Foreign Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.